All right, we're about to do something a little different today. We're going to travel forward in time to the year 2028, and things are not good. The global economy is in an absolute free fall. Now, this isn't a prediction. Think of it as a powerful thought experiment from Citrony Research that asks a really unsettling question. What if all our biggest wins in AI, all the incredible progress, what if it doesn't lead to utopia, but to a total economic collapse? And this is the paradox that just stops you in your tracks, right? What if being right about AI is actually the worst case scenario? This is the question sitting right at the heart of this entire speculative postmortem. So, just to be super clear, what you're about to hear is not me saying this is gonna happen. It's a thought experiment. It's a way to stress test our assumptions and understand a risk that honestly, very few people are talking about right now. So let's put on our investigator hats and reconstruct the chain of events that could take us from today's AI excitement to tomorrow's economic nightmare. Okay, let's set the scene. We're in 2028. The mood is, well, it's grim. And the story of how the world got to this point is a huge warning about what happens when technology moves way, way faster than our ability to adapt to it. This is the number flashing across every news screen in June of 2028, the unemployment rate, 10.2%. I mean, a shocking figure. And what makes it even crazier is that just 2 years earlier, back in 2026, those early AI-driven job losses, they were shrugged off, called contained. It took just 24 months to go from contained to a full-blown crisis. And here's where things get really weird. On paper, the economy looked amazing. AI was cranking out productivity like we'd never seen before. Corporate profits were through the roof. But all that wealth, it was basically trapped. It was flowing to the owners of the AI systems, but it never made it to the actual human beings who used to power the economy. So we had this boom in production that almost nobody could afford to buy. They called it ghost GDP. So how did this whole mess get started? Well, it wasn't with some big dramatic explosion. It started quietly, with a revolution in a single sector that everyone thought was basically untouchable: software. The whole thing happened unbelievably fast. By the end of 2025, these new AI agents could write and build pretty complex software in just a few weeks. So by the middle of 2026, companies started looking at their huge software bills and asking, wait, why are we paying for this subscription again? We could probably just have an AI build a version for us. And then, the bombshell. ServiceNow, a giant in the software as a service industry, announces layoffs. And suddenly Wall Street woke up and realized, oh no, even the biggest names in tech aren't safe. And here's the crucial point. This wasn't like other disruptions, where old companies try to fight the new technology. They couldn't. With their revenues plummeting, they did the only logical thing they could do. They cut their human staff and poured all those savings right back into the very AI that was eating their lunch, just to stay alive. It created this vicious, accelerating cycle. So the fire started in the software world, but it didn't stay there. It spread like wildfire to any industry that was built on what you might call human friction, all those little inefficiencies that are just a part of everyday life. I mean, think about it. So much of our economy is based on the simple fact that we're human. We're busy, we get a little lazy, we don't always have the energy to hunt for the absolute rock-bottom best deal. But AI agents, they have all the time in the world. They completely dismantled entire industries that depended on us just sticking with the status quo, from automatically reshopping our car insurance every 6 months to finding the cheapest flight every single time no matter what. And this really highlights the fundamental shift. We humans, we're creatures of habit, right? We stick with the brands we know. We see a price that's good enough and we click buy because we don't want to spend another hour searching. An AI agent doesn't care about a cool logo or your favorite brand. It is ruthlessly, perfectly rational. It optimizes for pure value, and in the process, it just erased the brand loyalty that companies had spent billions and billions of dollars to build. Okay, this is where the story takes a really dark turn. This is where all that corporate efficiency starts to translate into a devastating human cost. This wasn't just a normal recession, this was something totally new. This was the engine that drove the entire crisis. See, unlike a normal recession that eventually bottoms out and corrects itself, this was a downward spiral with no natural breaks. Every time AI got a little bit better, it led to more layoffs. Those layoffs meant less consumer spending, and less spending put even more pressure on other companies to, you guessed it, adopt AI to cut costs. The very thing causing the problem got stronger and stronger every single quarter. So what made this so incredibly destructive was who it was hitting. This wasn't spread out evenly. No, it was like a laser beam focused on white-collar professionals, the top 20% of earners, the same group that's responsible for nearly 2/3 of all consumer spending. When you take out the very people who buy the new cars, go on vacations, and purchase homes, the entire economy just grinds to a halt.
So, inevitably, a crisis this big on Main Street wasn't going to stay there. It was only a matter of time before it jumped to Wall Street, triggering a systemic financial meltdown. It turned out that almost the entire financial system, we're talking private credit funds, big banks, all the way to insurance companies, they had all, without even realizing it, made the exact same bet. And that bet was that the incomes of high-earning professionals would just keep going up and up, forever. When that fundamental assumption broke, the whole daisy chain started to snap, link by link. And a perfect textbook example of this was the leveraged buyout of Zendesk, a customer service software company. Now, a leveraged buyout, or LBO, is just when you buy a company using a ton of borrowed money. And that massive loan was secured against Zendesk's annual recurring revenue. But by 2027, AI agents were handling customer service on their own, making Zendesk's entire business model obsolete. That recurring revenue, it wasn't recurring anymore, and that loan collapsed, becoming the largest default of its kind in history. And once that domino fell, it led to a question that sent a wave of sheer terror through the entire financial system. If the safest software loans weren't safe anymore, what about the absolute bedrock of the whole system, the $13 trillion U.S. mortgage market? These were loans made to people with perfect credit, but that perfect credit was based on an income and a career path that for millions of them had just vanished. So at the end of the day, this isn't just a story about technology. It's really a story about our ability as a society to respond to a massive fundamental economic shift. Look, for all of modern history, human intelligence was the rare, valuable thing. Our entire economic system was built on that simple fact. But now, that intelligence premium is unwinding in real time. As machine intelligence becomes cheap and abundant and everywhere, the economic value of many human skills is collapsing right along with it. Which leaves us right here with the final and most important question. The technology is moving at an exponential pace, but our institutions, our governments, our social safety nets, they move at a snail's pace. The old economic playbooks, they're totally useless in a world where our most productive tools actually destroy jobs instead of creating them. So according to this thought experiment, the only question that really matters is this: can we adapt before it's too late?